Hola.
Hola.
And welcome to the channel Between the Lakes with Mike and Yvonne.
Now today we're here at La Siesta Park in Torrevieja to meet two people, two of our subscribers, plus Charlie the dog. So it's Amanda, Darren and Charlie. They're going to tell us how they bring the dog to Spain by car.
There are lots of hurdles to jump and hoops to go through.
And that's just in this park. Come on, let's go meet them. We're here with Amanda and Darren and Charlie. Don't forget Charlie.
Get Charlie.
And
Another show.
Semi-retired. We're describing them as semi-retired, non-resident property owners in Spain. Tell us a little bit about yourselves.
We actually, believe it or not, we met on the internet, but we were neighbours. But we did meet on the internet 8 years ago. We got married sort of after 12 months. Yeah.
Great stuff. Now, this is all about Charlie.
Yes.
About the dog and bringing a dog to Spain.
Yes.
And what's involved and the complexities of it. Can you just give us a detailed idea, in fact, of how it's done and what's involved?
Since Brexit.
Yeah, since Brexit.
Yeah, yes. So the dog needs to be microchipped.
Right.
And then you need a rabies vaccination. And then you need an animal health certificate, which is different to before Brexit when you could actually get a pet passport in the UK. That's not applicable anymore, so you now need an animal health certificate.
Right.
And then on his return back into the UK, he will then need a tapeworm tablet as well.
It sounds to me like an EU Brussels type thing that's overtaken everything. Maybe in time it'll get back to some sort of simplicity, but at the moment it's quite complicated, isn't it? Is it more complicated if you're a tourist, if you just come in, and does it cost more money?
Yes, I think if you... We were fortunate that we could get an EU passport whilst we were here because we actually have an address here. But
Right.
I think if you just come in and you don't own a property here, for example, that you will have to get an animal health certificate each individual trip that you come out.
Right.
Come here.
Yeah.
Every time. So
So that's
yeah.
going to work out expensive, isn't it?
It is, yeah, because the one we got, the first time we came at the start of this year, we did come out for sort of 8 weeks without having the EU passport, and it did cost, his animal health certificate cost £156.
Wow.
So,
Right.
and if you may have to do that for every journey, it actually
Yeah.
is quite, it's quite
Yeah.
costly.
But once you've got the animal passport,
Yes.
that makes it a little bit cheaper. In
Yeah,
effect,
it does.
doesn't
Yeah, once he's got his pet passport, then in actual fact, it can travel free. So we bought a house at the start of this year, and then obviously we wanted to bring Charlie with us. So we were going to drive here, and then we had to work out what we needed to do to get Charlie here, which involved us making sure it was microchipped already, but you would need a microchip, your dog microchipped. And then they need a rabies vaccination. That's quite important. And then once they've had the rabies vaccination, you then need an animal health certificate to get here. And that animal health certificate is actually valid for 4 months, but it's only one trip out.
That's more than we get.
Trip. It is, yes, and one trip back. So you have to put where you're actually going to, the port you're going to enter the EU on the documentation. And then you can travel onwards within Europe for 4 months,
Right.
but you have to return to the UK within 4 months with the animal health certificate.
And how much does all this cost?
Well, the microchip, he was done as a pup, so that was £40 at the time. His rabies vaccination, which was a 3-year vaccine, cost £65.
Right.
And the animal health certificate for the first trip cost £156.
Yeah. It's quite expensive, isn't it? But I suppose if you get the passport, then it makes it a little bit cheaper.
Yeah, so that what we've then found is if we have an address in Spain or have property in Spain.
Have you got to have an address in Spain? You couldn't put down a 4-star hotel as your...
Our property address here is actually on his passport.
Yeah.
So
Right, and that's the one you'd use, and that way you can get your passport. Yeah.
So if you didn't have, if you were just coming, like you say, a tourist, if you were just coming and you didn't have a property here, you would in theory need an animal health certificate each trip.
Yeah.
So even though it's valid for 4 months, it's not as though you can actually come out for a month, return to the UK and use the same animal health certificate. You would have to get another animal health certificate. It's literally only applicable for one trip.
Right, okay,
So,
fine.
So that can be quite costly.
Yeah, and when you go back, you've got to get a tapeworm.
Yeah, he does. He will have to have, before he can go back into the UK, he has to have a tapeworm tablet, which has to be...
Is that for the UK government? Or is it...
Yeah, it's for the UK
It's for the
government.
UK,
Yes, it is,
Yeah, fair enough.
And the rabies is for when you come into Europe.
Yeah.
How much does that cost for the tapeworm?
It cost us about 21 euros, because they had to check him over as well, so we had to physically take him with us to the vets to do it. So this is his EU passport.
Right.
Yeah. When we brought him over, in order to get this, he has to have another rabies vaccination as well done here, because his UK rabies vaccination cannot be put onto an EU passport. So he had to have his rabies vaccine again.
Yeah.
And it was perfectly safe to do that. I did check with the vet in the UK that it was okay to do that. You know, it's not going to be overdosed. And they did give him a 3-year vaccination. So, and in order to keep this passport valid, he has to have his booster back in the EU. He can't have a UK one and then come back. It would be starting again from scratch with an animal health certificate then, and then applying again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then there's some time limits as well with all this. So the rabies vaccine that we had in the UK has to be administered 21 days before you can get an animal health certificate.
Right.
With day 1 being the day after the vaccination. So you have it done on a Monday, it's applicable 3 weeks on a Monday.
Okay.
And then you need to get your animal health certificate, which has to be then used within 10 days of your travelling. So you can actually get your animal health certificate on the day that the rabies vaccine is eligible for him to travel, for the pet to travel. But otherwise it has to be used within 10 days. No, 10 days,
Okay.
So the vet also advised us to get a collar for him to protect him against sandflies, which can cause a disease in dogs. If a sandfly bites a dog, it can cause them a disease called leishmaniasis.
Right.
So the collar, it's like a repellent collar. So he wears that all the time, and we did actually put that on him 7 days before we travelled as well, so that he also had, you know, some protection in his body before we actually set off.
Great.
And then like I said, the tapeworm tablet has to be done five days before we return back into the UK. It's got to be valid on the day of return into the UK.
So if you're delayed on your journey,
if you're delayed on the journey, you've not done it soon enough. You've got to have it. You've got to find a vet and get another tablet and.
No, decided to stop for another 3 nights in France on the way
back.
Yeah,
that sounds like a plan. Yeah. So the first time we did it was quite costly, but now he's got his pet passport. It's just straightforward, really.
Right.
So.
Good. Yeah. So it's well worth doing it then. Well worth.
Oh, definitely well worth doing it. Yeah.
And this is really for people that we're not talking about people flying across here. We're talking about people who drive from the UK and into through the Schengen into Spain.
Yes.
So flying's a different matter altogether, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. I think we didn't really look into that because we just wanted to come by car, really.
Yeah.
So.
We understand you found out a really good way, efficient way, with a good company to do it a little bit cheaper. And can you tell us about that? Yeah,
so we got his EU pet passport from Pets World, which are based in Lasagna, which is near the closest one to where we are. And they did actually have an advert in the window saying you could get microchip, passport and vaccine all for one price. Obviously, Charlie's already got his microchip. He can't get here without that, but he cannot return back to the UK. His passport has to have an EU rabies jab on it, so he did have to have that again.
Yeah.
And in his passport, and that was €56.
Wow.
And so they've got vets actually operating out of Pets World. And they were English speaking and fine. They were great. Yeah.
Good service.
Yes, they were. Yeah. They were lovely actually. Yes, yeah, they were very, very
and
useful.
As a matter of interest, we have a Pets World opening by us, haven't we?
Yeah.
It's not been finished yet. It's actually being built at the moment as we speak. Probably going to be open later on this year. It's a big store, and hopefully they'll do the same. It's yours is Lasenia branch.
It is, yes, that's
So,
nearest to us. And there is one in San Miguel area as well, I think.
It's a Pets World,
yes,
isn't it? I'm getting that.
Pets World, yes.
Yeah, so that's great for us, and it's only down the road, just down by the, or past the La Siesta Park. Altos del Liminar, yeah.
So I'm sure they registered us as... it registered him on their system, didn't they, as well?
Yeah.
I mean, we did. I don't think we needed it, but we did take our NIE and passport with us.
Right.
But I'm not sure whether they needed that as such. They just did need our address for.
Right. Yeah. For that.
Yeah. So yeah, it makes it a lot simpler now.
Yeah.
So when we came this time at the port, they passed us a scanner to scan his microchip to check that he did marry up to the information. It was fine. Was straight, no problems at all.
Fine.
So yeah.
Great stuff. Yeah.
Behind you, there's a dog agility centre. Do you think Charlie might want to have a play in there?
I think he might. Yes.
I bet he's dying to have a go.
Yeah, he's definitely.
He's
been very patient, hasn't he?
Yeah. Well chilled.
Well, thanks very much for giving us that information. It's been very enlightening, hasn't it? Especially for dog owners, and they want to do the same as you and give them lots of great information. So thanks for that.
Yeah, no worries.
Well, there we are. I hope you've learned something about bringing your dog to Spain.
Thanks again to Amanda, Darren and Charlie. This is their experience of bringing their dog Charlie to Spain by car.
And on that note, it's time to wrap the video up. So, it's a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video, a thumbs down if you haven't enjoyed the video. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already.
Because it's free.
And don't forget to hit that notification bell. 3, 2, 1.
Bing!
Adios.